Guess what, y'all? It's still April, which means it's still Stress Awareness Month. And one thing I've learned is that recovering perfectionists like you and me, we carry a whole lot of stress. In fact, one of the reasons you probably listen to this podcast is because you're hoping that you'll learn something that helps you avoid the stress that comes with perfectionism. And so I'm just going to give you what you want. Today, I want to help you reduce the stress that's in your relationships that is caused by perfectionism. And I'm going to do that by giving you some quick tips that you can put to use right away. So if you stick with me, I'm going to teach you how to create a judgment-free zone in any relationship, and it's going to be a game changer. Ready? Let's go. Good day, good people. Welcome back to episode 99 of the Life Edit Project podcast. I'm your host and your favorite life coach, Coach Elizabeth, and I'm glad to be here. And of course, I'm grateful that you found my little corner of the interwebs and decided to tune in. I'm not going to hold you too long today, so I'm going to jump right into the meat and potatoes of this episode. Let's talk about judgment-free zones, shall we? So I have coached a lot of people. And when I say a lot, I mean I've coached well over 100 people individually, and I've coached probably closer to 200 people in group sessions. And one thing that I have said to every client that I've had since very early on in my coaching career is that when you're with me, the space is a judgment-free zone. And I think I've said that on this podcast before too, right? And so when I say that, what does that mean? Well, to me, it means that I won't judge you and I won't let you judge yourself. Judgment has no place in any space where I'm showing up as a coach. And that's not because I'm invalidating your experience. It's because I've said this many times before on this show, judgment creates shame and shame shuts us down. And when we're shut down, nothing productive happens. And my whole job as a coach is to help you move forward. And so everything is easier to do. It's easier to make progress. It's easier to move forward if we don't have to work through judgment while we're doing it. So I like to shut it down from jump. But the other thing is that judgment is also supremely unhelpful when it shows up in our relationships, right? So outside of coaching sessions, in real life, in the real world, judgment is not helpful. And it doesn't matter what kind of relationship that it might show up in. Marriage, friendships, professional relationships, in families, right? Between siblings or between parent and child. Seriously. I want you to do this with me. Think of any relationship with a person where you felt judged, right? Got it in your mind? And I want you to think about how that affected the dynamic between you and the other person. It kind of sucked, right? Yeah, I know. Because judgment is never a good look. It can cause tension and conflict. It can lead to miscommunication and emotional distance. And judgment prevents the things that we all want in our healthy relationships. Things like safety, respect, and authenticity and connection. And relationships that are full of these kinds of problems and relationships that are missing these essential benefits, they feel intensely stressful. So to try to counteract this, I want you to practice intentionally creating judgment-free zones. I'm going to give you 3 different things that you can try in the moment whenever you catch yourself being a little judgy. And these techniques are going to work during some of the most common situations that trigger judgment and judgmentalness in perfectionists. Is that a word? Judgmentalness? I don't know. It is now. Whatever. You know what I mean. Okay. So I'm going to give you 3 techniques to try. Here's the first one. If you find yourself feeling judgmental because you want to control a situation or you want to control another person, I want you to practice what I'm calling supportive detachment. So the thing about perfectionism is that it will have you believing that you need to be in charge, that you need to be in the driver's seat in order to make sure that things happen or to make sure that things happen the right way. But even if you're doing this out of good intentions, the other person that you're dealing with, they experience it as judgment. They experience your intent to make everything okay as being controlled and as being judged. And no matter whether you're at work or you're at home with your boo, judgment introduces shame, and shame is going to shut down connection. So instead, let them live. Instead of trying to help by driving the situation, ask yourself how you can support their choices, right? Because it's not all up to you in a relationship. You have your part, but they have theirs. Let them do their part. You don't have to agree with everything, and you don't have to approve of everything that they do. But I want you to imagine, how would things be different? How could they be different if you gave their choices or their ideas the best chance of success by supporting them? Just imagine the kind of energy and life that it would breathe into your relationships if you approach them like that. So that's the first thing that you can try. Try supportive detachment. The second tip I have for you today: if you find yourself feeling overly concerned with other people's perceptions or with the optics of a situation, I want you to practice shifting from performing to presenting. Sometimes perfectionism looks like trying to play the perfect version of whoever it is that you want to be. The perfect worker bee, the perfect wife, the perfect student, the perfect mom, the perfect committee member, right? But there's always a gap between who you are and what you imagine the perfect version of you should look like. And a lot of the roles that we occupy in society exist in relation to other people. So you can't be a wife without having a spouse. You can't be a mom without kids, or you can't be a leader without having a team to lead, right? And so when we try to perform perfectly in these roles and the people around us are not playing their parts perfectly, or in the way that we envision perfection looks like, we instinctively try to close that gap. And trying to close that gap between the imperfect reality and our perfect imagined world, it creates a lot of stress, right? And so to counteract that, I want you to practice shifting into how you present yourself and your values instead of focusing on how you perform in your role and how that performance might be evaluated or received by others. And you can do this by asking yourself, am I being present to this relationship? Am I being present to my values, or am I trying to perform in a role? One of those perspectives is internally focused, right? And you're focused on yourself and the part of showing up that you can control. The other perspective is externally focused. And guess what? Even though it feels more helpful, it's actually less productive because you have less control over other people's perceptions. And by less control, I mean none. You have no control over how people see you or perceive you, right? But in the context of relationships, the way you show up can absolutely impact the dynamic between you and the other person. And so this one shifting from performing in a role to presenting as the most authentic version of yourself, to presenting as the version of yourself that is being true to your goals or your values, that can make all the difference. The third tip that I want you to try, if you're feeling a sense of superiority or if you're feeling like your way is better, I want you to practice playing the curiosity card. So if shame is the least productive emotion we can have, then curiosity is one of the most productive emotions we can experience. Shame shuts us down, but curiosity opens us up. And you can use curiosity on purpose to redirect yourself when you find yourself standing in judgment of someone else because of your perfectionism. And the simplest way to do this is to just ask sincere questions and then genuinely engage with the responses that you get. And the questions can be really simple. It can be something like, oh, I wouldn't have thought of it this way. Tell me more. Or can you walk me through your thought process on this? Or something like, what's most important to you here? Or you can ask, have you tried this before? If so, tell me how it went. Or you can ask, is there a reason that you prefer it this way? Any question will do if you ask it sincerely. And the key here is to ask it sincerely and not sarcastically. Asking questions sarcastically is going to get you the opposite reaction. So you do have to practice this part. And now you're also going to want to find questions that match the relationship that you're dealing with and the situation that you're in, right? So you're not going to question your colleague the same way that you question your spouse. And you're not going to question your teenage daughter the same way you would question someone that you just met at a networking event, right? But asking questions in any context can show that you're willing to hear the other person out and that you want to understand them. And that willingness can go a long way to fostering connection, even if you don't know what kind of answer you're going to get. It's about opening the doorway to deeper connection. Okay, so that's it. Those are 3 simple things that you can do the next time you're interacting with someone and you feel judgment creeping in. You can do these things, any one of them. You don't have to do all 3, but you can pick one of these things and practice doing it to create a judgment-free zone in that relationship. Now, if you want to get really good at creating judgment-free zones to cut the stress in your relationships, one of the best ways to learn how to do this is to experience it firsthand. Because once you know what a judgment-free zone really looks and feels like, you can then be better at holding that kind of space for other people. And as a reminder, because this is the way I coach, all of my coaching sessions are like this. And all of my clients have shared with me that working with me over time, 3 to 6 months, has helped them to feel less stress or to cope better with the stress that they experience in their lives. I would love to support you in a similar way. So to get started, just use the link that's in the show notes to book a call with me, and that's how you sign up for my one-on-one coaching program. And whatever happens on that call, I can guarantee it will be a stress-free time and you're going to get a judgment-free zone because I roll like that. Okay, if you try any of these techniques, hit me up on social media and let me know how it goes. I really, really want to hear from you directly. My handle is at Life Edit Project, all one word, in all the places. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Threads have been over there lately. And of course, you can also find my channel on YouTube. My handle is at Life Edit Project there too. So holla at your girl. Okay, that is all for today. I will be back in your ears next week with another juicy episode. And of course, episode 100, which I'm very excited about. So please join me then. Until then, peace.